ASAP Rocky's shared experience of being a dad, the journey that changed everything. The moment that no one saw coming. There are moments in life that don't arrive with warning signs. They don't ask permission. They don't wait until you're ready. They simply arrive, and when they do, everything changes. For ASAP Rocky, that moment didn't happen on a stage, in a recording studio, or under flashing lights. It didn't come with applause or headlines. It came quietly, powerfully, and forever altered the rhythm of his life. It came with fatherhood. The world has always known ASAP Rocky as a visionary and artist who bends sound, fashion, and culture into something uniquely his own. A man whose presence feels larger than life. Confident. Untouchable. Always moving forward. But becoming a dad introduced something entirely different. It slowed time. And in that stillness, Rocky discovered a version of himself he didn't even know he was searching for. Before fatherhood, life in constant motion. To understand the depth of Rocky's transformation, you have to understand the life he lived before fatherhood. His world was movement. Cities blurred together. Nights bled into mornings. Creativity thrived on chaos. Success demanded speed. There was always another show. Another collaboration. Another reason to keep pushing. And Rocky thrived in that environment. He built a legacy on fearlessness, on doing things his way, even when it didn't make sense to anyone else. He embodied freedom. But freedom, as exhilarating as it can be, often comes without stillness. And stillness is where reflection lives. The quiet shift that changed everything. Fatherhood doesn't announce itself with grand speeches. It doesn't come with instructions. It arrives with responsibility and love so intense it rewires your instincts. For Rocky, becoming a dad wasn't about suddenly having all the answers. It was about learning how to show up, day after day, for someone who didn't care about fame or fashion or accolades. Someone who only cared about presence. That realization hit deeper than any applause ever could. Suddenly, life wasn't just about expression, it was about protection. It wasn't just about ambition, it was about intention. And that shift changed how Rocky saw everything. What fatherhood taught him about himself. One of the most surprising aspects of fatherhood is how much it reveals about who you are when no one is watching. For Rocky, it became a mirror. He learned patience in moments where impatience once ruled. He learned vulnerability in ways that strength alone could never teach. He learned that love isn't loud, it's consistent. Being a dad forced him to slow down and ask questions he'd never had to ask before. Who am I becoming? What am I modeling? What kind of man do I want my child to grow up seeing? These questions didn't come with easy answers, but they came with purpose. Redefining success through a child's eyes. Before fatherhood, success had clear markers, numbers, influence, reach, recognition. After becoming a dad, success began to look different. It looked like being present. It looked like listening. It looked like choosing family when the world expected hustle. Rocky didn't stop being ambitious, but ambition took on a new shape. It became less about proving something to the world and more about building something meaningful at home. And that redefinition didn't limit him, it grounded him. The emotional weight of responsibility. Fatherhood carries a weight that no amount of fame can lighten. It's the weight of knowing someone depends on you completely. The weight of understanding that your actions echo beyond yourself now. The weight of wanting to protect innocence in a world that isn't always kind. Rocky felt that weight, but he didn't run from it. He embraced it. Because within that responsibility was a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced before. A clarity that cut through distractions. A reason to choose growth over ego. Love without conditions. There's a kind of love that asks for nothing in return. Fatherhood introduces you to it immediately. Rocky didn't love his child because of potential or expectation. He loved them because they existed. Because they were his. That unconditional love softened edges the world rarely sees. It allowed tenderness to coexist with toughness. It made vulnerability a strength rather than a risk. And in embracing that love, Rocky expanded, not diminished, who he was. Masculinity reimagined. For generations, masculinity has been framed as distance, stoicism, and emotional restraint. Fatherhood challenged that narrative. Rocky's experience showed that masculinity can include nurturing. That strength can look like care. That real power lies in showing up emotionally, not just physically. Being a dad didn't take anything away from his identity, it deepened it. It allowed him to redefine what it means to be a man in a way that felt authentic, not performative. Creativity through a new lens. Fatherhood didn't dim Rock. Suddenly, art wasn't just expression, it was legacy. Music wasn't just sound, it was memory. Fashion wasn't just style, it was storytelling. He began thinking about the future in a way that stretched beyond himself. About the world his child would grow into. About the values he wanted to pass down. That awareness infused everything he touched with intention. Balancing public life and private love. One of the hardest challenges of fatherhood for someone as visible as Rocky is protecting what matters most while living in the spotlight. Privacy became sacred. Not because he had something to hide, but because some experiences are meant to be lived, not documented. Fatherhood taught him that not every moment needs an audience. That love doesn't grow louder with exposure, it grows deeper with care. And that boundary became an act of love in itself. Lessons passed without words. Children learn long before they understand language. They learn from tone, from presence, from consistency. Rocky understood that being a dad wasn't about speeches, it was about example. About how he treated others. About how he handled pressure. About how he chose kindness even when it wasn't convenient. Those lessons, passed quietly, mattered more than anything he could ever say. The fear that comes with love. Fatherhood also introduces fear. Not the kind that paralyzes, but the kind that sharpens awareness. The fear of loss. The fear of failure. The fear of not being enough. Rocky faced those fears honestly. He didn't pretend they didn't exist. Instead, he let them guide him toward growth. Because love that deep demands courage. A legacy beyond fame. Fame is fleeting. Trends change. Influence shifts. But fatherhood builds something that lasts. Rocky began thinking less about how the world saw him and more about how his child would remember him. That question reshaped his priorities. Because in the end, legacy isn't measured by recognition, it's measured by impact. Why his story resonates so deeply. A$AP Rocky's experience as a dad resonates because it's real. It's not polished. It's not perfect. It's human. In a world that often glorifies detachment, his journey reminds us that connection is strength. That love can transform even the most fast-paced lives. That growth doesn't always come from chasing more, but from cherishing what's already here. Fatherhood as a turning point, not a destination. Fatherhood didn't complete Rocky, it expanded him. It didn't signal the end of ambition, it gave it meaning. It wasn't a finish line, it was a beginning. A beginning defined by patience, purpose, and a love that reshaped everything he thought he knew about himself. The quiet truth at the center of it all. At the heart of A$AP Rocky's experience of being a dad is a simple truth. Love changes you. Not overnight. Not all at once. But permanently. It alters how you see the world. How you define success. How you understand yourself. And once the change begins, there's no going back. Why this story matters? Because it reminds us that behind every public figure is a private life filled with the same emotions we all navigate. Hope. Fear. Joy. Responsibility. Fatherhood leveled the playing field. It brought Rocky back to something universal. And in doing so, it revealed the most powerful chapter of his journey yet. The experience that continues to shape him. Being a dad isn't a moment, it's a lifelong evolution. Every day brings new lessons, new challenges, new reasons to grow. And for ASAP Rocky, that journey is still unfolding quietly, intentionally, and with a depth that fame could never provide. The ending that isn't an ending. This story doesn't end with a conclusion because fatherhood doesn't conclude. It continues. In every choice made. In every value passed down. In every act of love shown when no one is watching. ASAP Rocky's shared experience of being a dad isn't about transformation for the public, it's about becoming someone better for the future. And that might be the most powerful story he'll ever tell.